Welcome to the Be Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sky Bradshaw. In today's episode, we discuss nurturing the nurturer, and each of the three segments build a little deeper into the topic. So be sure to listen through to the end for helpful tips, tools, and guidance on how to do the work. In the Skylight segment of today's show, we focus deeper on this topic with women's wellness educator and Sacred Rhythms owner, Dawn Leonard. But before we dive into the Unclouded Heart segment for messages of spiritual wisdom, let's invite ourselves to become present in this moment within our body, mind, and energy. Take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, invite your mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe. So we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good and the highest and best good of all involved as we open up space to give and receive. Nurturing the nurturer. In a world where selflessness is often celebrated, the role of the nurturer is both noble and essential. Yet, the unspoken truth remains that those who give tirelessly are often the ones who are the last to receive, much less ask for the help that they deserve. This imbalance can lead to burnout, emotional exhaustion, and a depletion of the very qualities that make nurturers so invaluable. Cultivating a culture where care is both given and received is crucial for sustainability of these compassionate individuals. A give and receive care culture ensures that the nurturers themselves are cared for, allowing them to continue their vital work without compromising their well-being. About 10 years ago, someone asked me an extremely interesting question. We were discussing my spiritual mama, and they said, "It sounds like she's an amazing and influential spiritualist. I wonder who prays for her." While their question in itself was an innocent contemplation, it set off a ripple effect of thought process within me. We often think of nurturing only towards those who cannot nurture themselves. This is an imbalanced thought process that doesn't support the give and receive mentality that is present in most natural environments. For some reason, we have this false belief that the more support someone has to give to others, the less support they need for themselves. If we were talking about calories and food intake, we would imagine the more exercise that someone does, the more calories they burn, the more food that they need. But for some reason, because we're talking about emotional support, we believe the opposite. In my opinion, it just isn't true. As the Earth Gang song goes, check in on your strong friends. The essence of give and receive care culture lies in recognizing that everyone, even the most dedicated caregivers, have needs. When nurturers are supported, their ability to provide care is enhanced. This reciprocal relationship creates a cycle of well-being and support where nurturers can replenish their energy and maintain their mental and physical health. Acknowledging and addressing the needs of nurturers is not a sign of weakness in them, but a necessary step in preserving their strength and capacity to care for others. Implementing such a care culture requires a shift in the mindset, both individually and collectively. It involves fostering environments where asking for help is not only accepted, but encouraged. This can be achieved through regular check ins with each other, finding support circles and groups, and a personal focus that emphasizes self care. By normalizing the practice of giving and receiving care, we can break the cycle of neglect that often plagues those who dedicate their lives to caring for others. Nurturing the nurturer is a critical aspect of sustaining a healthy and compassionate community. By cultivating a give and receive care culture, we ensure that those who give so much are not left depleted. This balanced approach not only benefits the nurturers, but also enhances the quality of the care they can provide. I envision connections where the act of caring is a shared responsibility and where those who nurture are equally nurtured in return.
Production of the Be Your Soul podcast is made possible in part by Tarot by Sky, because it's your future. Tarot by Sky offers intuitive tarot and energy healing sessions, as well as life coaching, classes, spiritual guidance, and more. Offering sessions via Zoom, email, phone, or in the office in Greensboro, North Carolina, Sky is ready to help you turn change into growth. Book your session today on the web at tarotbysky.com and find her on Facebook and Instagram at Tarot by Sky.
Today, we're delighted to have on the show prenatal and postnatal yoga teacher, childbirth educator, and energy healer, Dawn Leonard. Dawn's own personal journey called her to create a community of people who are growing into positive, balanced relationships with their bodies and with each other. We welcome you so much to the show, and I'm so excited to talk about nurturing the nurturer with you and the importance of cultivating a give and receive care culture, because I think that you embody that in a really beautiful way in the work that you do, like giving the mother, who is usually seen as the nurturer, the tools to be able to not only live to their fullest potential in nurturing, but also to understand that they themselves deserve support and can receive support without feeling like they have to defer their personal power in order to do so. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sky. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So a lot of times nurturers have a hard time allowing themselves to be nurtured. I feel like it comes forward in a lot of different ways, like from over independent belief systems and societal, like tough it out sort of mentality, to like survival mechanisms, the I got this mentality, where that belief that if they ask, for some sort of help, then they're not loving as fully as they should be able to do, like that sacrifice is love. So how do you see it in your work? Like, how does it come forward when you start working with someone, that may have had this tendency? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, actually, working with pregnant people can be a really great opportunity. So often pregnant people are told, you have to do this, you can't do this. Mostly it's you can't do all of these things. And actually take it as an opportunity to remind women, hey, you're pregnant. This is a great time to be like, oh, I'm going to let somebody else do this. I'm pregnant. This is an excuse to not do something, and see what that feels like. What does it feel like to just allow this excuse of pregnancy to make space for, maybe I don't have to do this thing.
And it creates a better balance, I think. And, it's unfortunate, but usually probably true, especially for like the doers, the, healers, the gifters, those type of people need a catalyst. They need something to say, oh, well, here's the reason why I can receive right now. But then when we put that mindset into place, like, after that, we can say, oh, wait a minute, this is giving and receiving is balance, and balance is what keeps all things alive in the world. So instead of, over independence or the belief that sacrifice is love, I can say, wait a minute, I'm giving you the gift of helping in this situation. I'm giving you the gift of loving me in a way that I need to be loved right now. And it shifts that mentality in a really big way when we can continually open that door. And a lot of times it takes that kind of nudge, 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 say it 100 times before it sinks in. But definitely, I think that's important. What advice would you give to people other than using that opportunity? Obviously there's a reason to, ask for help during pregnancy, but what's the advice that you give that supports them, to kind of change their mentality or create a new mindset around that?
Yeah. We have this notion that rest or receiving has to be earned. And we have to do something in order to earn rest. We have to do something in order to receive nurturing. And actually, what if instead of earning the rest, you have a whole agenda for your day and you're feeling tired already at the beginning of the day? What if you just said, I'm going to rest first and see what that feels like? Because we all know, I mean, it's objectively been proven that when you lack sleep, when you lack capacity, you're not going to do your best work. You can't be creative. You can't support other people. So, what if you took a little bit of time to rest first and then see what it feels like to give? And so the rest is just like a really simple, I mean, there's actually a lot of ways that we can rest, right? It doesn't have to be like taking a nap. We can do like creative rest by doing something that is, changing our mind by being creative, right? If you're always doing something that's trying to figure, logic things out, do something creative as rest. Or the way I do it and the way that generally I teach the philosophy and the practices, kind of, I guess I would say embodied rest. And so my favorite thing to do, I think, is just lying on the floor, feet flat on the floor, knees bent, and just checking in with my body, like breathing into that, 5 minutes of that, 3 minutes of that can really reset my system. Sometimes it takes a lot longer, if I've been with my kids all day for a week or whatever, it's going to take longer than that. But social rest, just having a conversation with a friend to work something out or to just connect, right? We nourish ourselves through connection. Some people with more connection, with others, and some people with more connection with themselves. And so there are many ways that we can rest as nurturers. And what would happen if we just decided that we wanted to rest first before being productive? Because it is that like capitalist drive to always be productive, always be creating something of monetary value that is always driving us to be doing, and not allowing for that recharge.
Yeah. And, if we were going to get in our car and our tank was empty, we would go to the gas station immediately and fill the tank. We wouldn't say, I'm going to make it to where I'm going. Hopefully I can make it there. Maybe I'll have to push the car half the way. We don't think that. We're just like, oh, this is the natural order of things. The natural order of things is fill and then use, and then fill and then use. And and so I think that it would do everybody a lot of good to think of rest in that way. And also, the part of that capitalistic, productivity is, gold idea is that rest isn't doing something, and rest is doing something. It's doing something very important. And so, I think that's a a beautiful way to think about how we give our friends space, even because we can say, instead of saying, oh, let's go do this thing. But if we just said, oh, let's just, I guess Netflix and chill was that
Yeah, or
whatever
just
way.
sit together.
Right. Just sit together, just rest, just enjoy each other's company in a relaxed environment that doesn't have a purpose, so to say, behind it, a
Objective.
productive. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, some important points to that have to do with deservingness. And, as we were talking about, a lot of people believe they have to earn, as you said, they have to earn rest, or they have to, have an excuse to, get their needs met, or to ask for their needs to be met. And I really I'm a firm believer in the and, like, how does it all happen instead of one or the other, like, how can we think about our sense of deservingness and understand that it is give and receive, not give or receive, like both have to be present. So what are some nuggets that you can give us, or some important points when it comes to the idea of deservingness and giving yourself permission to have your needs met?
Yeah. It really is self-worth, right? Am I worthy of nurturing? And so that's an internal process. It's an internal job of like finding our worth. And this is something that I share and teach in the Mother's Circle. But as nurturers, and generally, primarily, I work with moms, right? Primarily as caregivers. So if before we have children, we have a career and we're out in the world, and in the world we are visible to other people. We achieve things outwardly or externally, like we might achieve promotions. We are validated through the amount of money that we make. These are all things that often signify our worth, right? But from an external perspective. So we have to, and then so when we go in the cave, we have children, our work becomes invisible. Nobody sees how many diapers are changed. Nobody sees all the steps that you went through just to get to the doctor's office, right? It took an hour of, changing a diaper and nursing, and then preparing this thing, and then having to change the clothes, and then like you forgot this thing and packing, right? There's so much that goes into it that nobody sees. And when we're in the cave doing that invisible work, we're not getting that external validation, or any external sense of worth. Also, we don't get paid for it, right? So we have to find how we are worthy for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What makes me a worthy human being? And really, and maybe this is oversaid, but like, you are worthy of everything just by being a human, by being you. You came into this world to fulfill your own purpose, not to, fulfill anybody else's purpose or to satisfy anybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
We came for our own purpose, and that is where we need to find our worth. And many people, mothers, find plenty of worth in their mothering.
Mm-hmm.
I personally find a lot more worth doing other things. And it's a challenge for me. And I think I'm not the only one either, that my interests, my curiosity, my desires, my passions are not in taking care of my children, not in like breaking up fights, not in like sweeping up the Legos, right? So I struggle personally with like finding that worth as a mother So then I have to go to what are the other things that I love to do that make me feel important, make me feel validated from an internal place.
Yeah. And I like to remind people, like, whose measuring stick are you using? Are you using, the societal measuring stick? Are you using your friend's measuring stick? Are you using your parents' measuring stick? Because, if we use our own measuring stick, and we can say, like, do I feel like I'm measuring up, so to say, to my personal values, my personal beliefs, am I doing a good job today or a better job than I did yesterday, or whatever the measuring stick is if you use your internal measuring stick, then it changes the game for us. Because if we're looking at what we should be doing, compared to that, TikTok mom or whatever it is, like it becomes different. We look at those, as you were saying about pregnancy, we're told we can't do a lot of things. We're looking at the nots, like, don't do this, can't do that, I'm not doing this or that, like, here's where the gap is, and we measure in the opposite direction. Versus, like, when we hold our own measuring stick, we can say, man, I didn't cry today when I had to get ready to go to the doctor. Like, win all around.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So how do you create a balance in empowering? I know you talked about, like, finding that space when it comes to, you, the mother hat, versus you, the other hats that you wear. How do you find that and allow yourself to live it while also empowering others in that space?
I think empowerment comes in two ways. I think knowledge and information can be very empowering. I tell my pregnant people, if you are looking for an unmedicated birth, which not everybody is, and that's fine, but if that's what you're looking for and you are seeing an OB, know that an obstetrician is trained in surgical birth, not in physiological birth. That's not really something that we think about necessarily, right? So if you want a physiological birth, a birth that is unmedicated, find a practitioner who knows how to support that. But then the other part of that, right? So there's so much we can get through books, listening to podcasts, right? Which I find personally is something that lights my fire. Like that, like this information is so powerful. I want everybody to know this thing. And actually, one of the things that I feel like I'm really passionate about is like understanding how much of our power actually is not in our minds, in our brains, it's actually in our bodies. And that our power comes from being in our bodies. And so what I aim to do through empowerment is to bring people into their bodies, because we have a lot of trauma, which brings us out of our bodies. And we also have a sort of top-down model where we value the top, the mind, the thinking up above more than we value the body and the earth, right? And so there's many reasons why it's hard to get into our bodies. So that is one of my favorite ways, my sort of my underlying tool is, and it's really subtle. And it can be really simple and also subtle and profound. Like subtle and profound are actually really together. So, when there is trauma, little or big, long or acute, right? We don't want to be in our bodies. And so this sort of trite notion, like just listen to your body, which is an important statement, but most people don't know how to do that. They don't know what it means to listen to their body. Most of us can't be still enough to sense the emotions, to sit with the emotions, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time, when we connect into our bodies, we find things that are really uncomfortable, right? Emotions that are really uncomfortable, memories, experiences, thoughts that are really uncomfortable. And so so being in the body in a way that is not scary is a practice, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it needs to be a slow experience. It needs to be titrated, right? Just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. In working with the nervous system, the slower you go, the faster you heal, which is totally antithetical, right, to what we think. Push harder, 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 then you'll get to where you want to go faster. But
Mm-hmm.
it's actually the opposite. So, trying to remember if there was anything else on that train that I need
Yeah, no,
to say.
that was a beautiful series of information for everybody. I know for me personally, that was some of the hardest work that I did. I had early trauma, and in trying to come back to myself, like it wasn't a one and done sort of thought process. It was this like giving permission to be safe and understanding the challenge I think a lot of people have when it comes to being in your body is when you're not there, you don't know it. You don't know what you
Yeah,
don't know until you know
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And I didn't know the missing piece. I'd been studying spirituality and doing all of these things for so long, and I just couldn't make it over that speed bump of like, what's the thing that just keeps reeling me back to these places? And it was not being embodied, like not being present. I'm still working on it. And I think we always do, but like it definitely was a complete game changer. And it was those tiny little, things that, I could go sit in the cave for a year and I wouldn't have gotten,
yeah,
you know, if I didn't have these like little calibrations
yeah,
in being present in my body. I remember the first time I could do this one yoga thing and I was like, I can do it because my brain isn't the one in charge anymore.
yeah.
My body is the one who's doing the movement. And it was
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you'd like to add about nurturing the nurturer or that you think is important?
Well, you know, nurturing the nurturer, and again, in my work, it's generally mothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the most important work that there is. In When we have a newborn baby, they're vulnerable to everything, right? Like a newborn baby cannot survive for 20 minutes, 5 minutes out in the wild on its own. And the effort that goes into caring for a newborn, physical, emotional, mental, is greater than anything, I think. If you are nursing, if you're creating milk, from your own blood, the nourishment that is required, the calories that are required, nutrients that are required are far greater than any other, nutrient requirement in a human's life, an adult human. And so if we can think of newborn mothers in the same way that we think about newborn babies, that newborn mothers need to be nourished, nurtured, protected as much as a newborn baby does, because actually they are one. They're a dyad.
Mm-hmm.
They are a single unit together. And when the mother is nurtured and nourished, she can do all of the things. She can give physically, she can be perceptive, intuitive, empathic in order to understand everything that the baby needs and perceive those things even before perhaps the baby requests them, is crying or whatever. And there are many signals that we can learn to perceive well before baby cries.
Mm-hmm.
We would have so much less trauma. We would we would be raising, and that is, one of my personal, even though like I don't love the day in and out of parenting, I do feel like it is a spiritual practice to be raising my children. And if we understood the depth of the requirements from pregnancy on, I think that would be game changing in this world. And so, all the ways that we can support new moms, new families, in order so that they can raise healthy, whole humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's my passion. That's my work. And that goes from, there's so many levels of that, right? It goes from structural and government and legislative and all of that, all the way down to the community,
Mm-hmm.
the village that is actually raising the mother. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a mother.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what lights my fire.
Yeah. And it is, it's imperative. Like, we instead of having that mentality, because like, it's a two-way mentality. Not only is the mother possibly thinking like that, I got this, but society says, oh, strong people don't need help.
Right.
And so the more the mother's got this, facade is on, then the
Yeah.
less people believe that they need. And so if we just change that viewpoint to the actual truth of the view, which is, this person is doing more than they've ever done before, they may need support, whether they're doing it well or not well, like they still need support. And
Yeah.
how do we change our personal views and how we interact in the world in that way? So each show I ask the guests 3 questions, and the first one is, what do you think it means to be your soul?
This was kind of a tricky question for me, but I recently started understanding human design.
Mm-hmm.
I've been into astrology for a long time and I understand my astrology, but my human design has been like amazingly insightful. Like we were talking about with the shifts, subtle shifts in our body or understanding our body, I feel like I've understood, oh, I'm a generator. So this means that I need to receive invitations and feel into my body, and like just understanding that and allowing that to be my MO, rather than society says you should manifest by making a big vision board and being exactly about this and this and this and this. That's actually, according to my human design, not how I'm supposed to do it. And then part of that is like removing the shame of like, this
Mm-hmm.
is the way that I operate. And I'm going to accept that. I'm going to embrace that. So that feels like I'm living my soul, because that's what my soul chose before I came into
Mm-hmm.
this body this time.
Beautiful. So what's one thing you do no matter what to get your self-care every day?
Well, again, I'm gonna push back on that, because no matter what, like every day, I'm not consistent that way. And that's another like, patriarchal like myth, especially as women, right? Men have a 24-hour hormone cycle, and so they can do the same thing every day, but women, our cycles are 28-ish days, right? And so on the days that I'm bleeding, I am not doing the things. I'm probably not doing any of the things. I just want to rest. So maybe it's more of a subtle thing. Like every day, no matter what, I'm trying to check in with, what do I need to do today?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to rest today? Do I need to be with friends today? Do I need to, check some things off my to-do list today? But checking in. I love the
Mm-hmm.
practice. I've been working with the Sacred Sisterhood Tarot, and I have been, on many days, not every single day. I love to pull a card and check
Mm-hmm.
in with that.
Yeah, I think self-awareness is a beautiful self-care, just like it doesn't mean the action of it is the same, but being self-aware and tuning into your personal needs is a beautiful self-care
Yeah.
tool. So, what does feeling centered and balanced look like to you?
Mostly stillness, but something that is either a practice that's in my body, like I was saying, lying down in constructive rest period, flat on my back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor, and then just breathing into that. And then sometimes I'll, do more movement in that. And that might be 5 minutes, it could be 45 minutes. And that is a very rejuvenating practice for me. And I think that's maybe a practice, more of a practice on days where I generally feel like where there's nothing big happening, right? Usually when things feel a little more like heavy or overwhelming, I need to go outside and like take a walk in the woods, go sit outside in nature somewhere.
Mhm.
Either of those two things are like my go-to nourishment for myself. And of course, also being with a couple of friends. There's, a few people that really can fill my bucket for me.
Nice. So, how can people find you? Can you shout out your website? Do you have any upcoming events that are coming forward?
Yeah. So my business is called Sacred Rhythms. The website is sacred-rhythms.com. I am on Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, it's Shri Dawn. That's SRIDAWN. And on Facebook, I think I'm just Dawn Leonard. I haven't been on Instagram a lot lately. Sometimes we need the social media breaks.
Mhm.
So I am going to be offering a childbirth class probably in the end of July, early August. And that is a 4-week course. I do it a little bit differently every time. So this one's going to be hybrid, where I'm going to offer some pre-recorded lectures, and then we'll get together in person to do some practices. And my childbirth class is comprehensive, skills-based, body-based childbirth education. We do a lot of information and practices around the nervous system because that's a part of birth that's often not talked about
Right.
yet. And then I'll also have in the fall, I'm going to do it 3 times a year, is my mother circle. And so this is an 8-week course and circle, like a women's circle, but it also has learning components to it. I trained to be a facilitator for this specific mother circle course with Kimberly Johnson, who I've been studying with mostly online since 2019. And so this mother circle is 8 weeks. We go into mother dive, the archetypal energy of birth, the underworld journey. You can go on my website and see all of the all 8 classes, but we go through an arc of an experience of understanding postpartum needs, understanding birth and doing birth renegotiation, understanding our nervous system. We talk about sexuality as a mother, and we talk about worth and creating our own mother code. And so that's an 8-week course that'll be in the fall, and I'll probably do that one on a weekend day. And then of course I've got prenatal yoga is Monday evenings, 6 to 7:30 right now. And I do offer private sessions one-on-one. I am a Reiki practitioner, and I also incorporate a lot of somatic practices into that one-on-one work. And some of that also could be another one-on-one form that I work with is in vaginal steaming, which is part of postpartum, can be part of postpartum healing. So I offer mother blessings and then a closing the bones, which are sort of end caps to the birth experience. So opening that sacred space and closing that sacred space in ceremony.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's birth needs to be honored and seen so much more than it
Mhm.
is. I love offering that to people so that they can feel empowered.
Yes, of course. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm really, really grateful for having this conversation. It was really beautiful to connect with you. And we also thank you, kind listeners, for coming and making a choice to spend some time with us today. We are honored and grateful to have connected. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sky. Thank you for this opportunity to share and connect with you.
Absolutely. It was beautiful.
Production of the Be Your Soul podcast is made possible in part by Little Energies, a children's chakra-aligned oracle deck. Little Energies is made specifically for children to learn and support their own healthy energy system. These 24 chakra-aligned oracle cards focus on energy wellness through mantras, exercises, and envisioning. Find more information at littleenergies.com. That's LITTLEENERGIES.com.
In this segment, I offer tools and guidance that I have found helpful in my practice, and maybe you will too. So let's go a little deeper. Building self-esteem and self-trust is essential for personal growth and improved intuition. One technique I found helpful to support a healthy self-image is a mutual complimenting exercise. This activity involves sharing and receiving sincere, positive accolades with someone you like and trust, fostering a supportive environment that enhances your sense of self-worth. Many people find it challenging to accept compliments due to various reasons, such as low self-esteem, cultural conditioning, or past experiences that have undermined their confidence. They might feel undeserving of praise, worry about appearing conceited, or simply feel uncomfortable with positive attention. Overcoming these barriers is crucial, as accepting compliments can significantly boost self-esteem and promote a healthier self-image. Step 1, setting up the exercise. Get together with a person you like and trust. Allocate 10 minutes for this activity and ensure you have a timer or can check the time on a watch or clock. This mutual complimenting exercise aims to boost self-esteem and self-trust, which in turn can enhance intuition. Discuss the exercise and what you both can gain from participating. Plan ahead so you can think sincerely about what you would like this person to know about themselves and urge them to do the same. Make sure your compliments are honest and sincere. Try to focus on the many facets of your friend and compliment multiple areas of their life. Share this idea so they might do the same. Step 2, first 5 minutes. One person begins by complimenting the other. For the first 5 minutes, focus solely on saying positive things about the other person. Be sincere and specific with your compliments, highlighting their qualities, achievements, and attributes that you admire and appreciate. During this time, the receiver just allows themselves to be washed over with positive remarks. They do not reply or shy away from anything said. They just receive. Step 3, the next 5 minutes. After the first 5 minutes, switch roles. The other person now compliments you for the next 5 minutes. Pay attention to the compliments and try to accept them graciously. Observe how this makes you feel emotionally and physically. Allow and receive without internal judgment or disbelief. Step 4, reflecting on the experience. Notice the changes in your emotions, energy levels, physical responses, and overall self-perception before and after the exercise. While this may feel awkward initially, repeated practice will make it easier to accept compliments, leading to a positive shift in self-esteem and self-trust. By seeing ourselves through the eyes of someone who we love and trust, we can allow our own personal view to come to a more neutral center. Repeat this exercise as often as you like to reinforce these positive changes. The mutual complementing exercise is a powerful tool for boosting self-esteem and fostering self-trust. By regularly engaging in this activity with someone you trust, you can create a positive feedback loop that enhances your self-worth and intuition. It allows for the inner critic to have a balancing agent and therefore not be the only voice you hear about yourself. Embrace the process and watch as your confidence and trust in yourself grows. May you be well. May you find peace. May you feel blessed. And may you be whole.
If this exercise spoke to you, then you'll love the Be Your Soul Understanding Energy and Action online self-study course, where you'll find video tutorials, guided meditations, PDF worksheets, and more. Understanding Energy in Action is designed to help participants explore the fundamentals of the energy system and its practical applications in daily life. This course is ideal for those interested in deepening their understanding of energy dynamics, whether for personal growth, enhancing their intuition, or sharpening their energy work in their professional services. You can find all of our episodes, our Patreon subscription link, guest information, the virtual classroom, and more on our website, beyoursoul.org.